Hello and welcome to this reading vlog. So it is almost midnight, which means that the Blacklit challenge is starting soon. And so I was thinking, because this month is going to be really busy for me. So I decided to, I guess, turn my sister's room, because she doesn't live here anymore, turn it into like a sort of office where I do all of like my work, and then create like this reading lair in my own room. So that's what I'm doing right now. I can show you. Doo-doo. Okay, so this is my desk, and the fun thing about this is that I can adjust the height using a lever. So my plan was to build the layer underneath here and use like the blanket to cover it. So I have some stuff here, it's just random, like my backpack and stuff and notebooks. So I'm going to take all of that out and then put up some lights and just make it really cozy. So at the moment the base has been laid. I think, yeah, this is really comfortable. So I have these lights, these fairy lights that I usually use for like decor on my bookcases, and I have this cute light. It's a very nice one because it changes colours. If I just put it, come on, yeah, okay, ow. So it changes colour, so I can change the mood in my layer once it's done. So yeah, I'm just going to hang up these lights using some sellotape. Okay, so I have finished setting up everything, so I'm just going to try and put on the light. Okay, this is the first one, and the second one is brighter. Yes, so welcome to my humble abode. I have the coloured light here as well, so if I just put it on now, let's see, this is red. Yeah, so welcome. I said that already. Anyway, yeah, I think this looks a bit blank because this is just my wall. So I might put up some artwork, maybe some extra lights, but we'll just have to see for the rest of the month. But yeah, I'm super happy with how it turned out. I can show you the other parts. There's not really much space anyway. So yeah, here I have the lamp. Here's all the lighting. I also have my sister's old TV here, so I can watch stuff if I want to as well. So yeah, this is great. Okay, I am ready to start reading. So the first thing that I had planned to read is Victor LaValle's Destroyer. This is a comic book that was inspired by Mary Shelley. I can read the back. It says, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein besieged his creator for love and companionship, but in 2017, the monster has long discarded any notions of peace or inclusion. He has become the destroyer, his only goal to eliminate the scourge of humanity from the planet. In this goal, he initially finds a willing partner in Dr. Baker, a descendant of the Frankenstein family who has lost her teenage son after an encounter with the police. While two scientists, Perry and Byron, initially believe they're brought to protect Dr. Baker from the monster, they soon realize they may have to protect the world from both the monster and Dr. Baker's wrath. So I read The Ballad of Black Tom back in December, which was also written by LaValle, and I really enjoyed it. So when I found out that there was a comic, I like that he'd written a comic as well, I immediately wanted to get that one as well. So I got this one in December. Since this year I'm not buying anything, but yeah, the art looks really nice. And yeah, this is going to be my first read. I have a couple of other books I want to show you for now, but I won't be like reading the synopsis. So I have Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. This is like a campus novel, bit of gothic as well. It says a seductive gothic infused debut of literary suspense. So I have to read that with some urgency, and this one as well. This one is by Kawai Strong Washburn, Sharks in the Time of Saviors. This one is a family saga inspired by Hawaiian lore, and most excitingly, the death of Vivek Oji. So if you've seen my most anticipated reads for 2020, this was number one. I read Pet last year, loved it, and so excited to read this one. So happy that it came in. So I had already like a small TBR for the week, but I'm going to have to adjust a bit because first off, how could I not read this one first? And yeah, the other two I have to read with some urgency, so I'm gonna have to shift things around, but at least this one was in my initial TBR. So yeah, let's go. I'm currently about a third ways through. I'm actually quite tired right now. I think I'm just going to go and sleep and then wake up early and then continue. My thoughts thus far are positive. I am enjoying it. It's a bit gory. I wasn't expecting that for some reason. I don't know why, because this is obviously a horror comic. But yeah, it's been good. It's been really good, and excited to see where the story will eventually go to. But yeah, it's time to go and sleep now. Going to switch off. Oh, good night. Good morning. I just woke up, so I'm gonna start this one again. I have finished Victor LaValle's Destroyer, and I enjoyed it. Something that I really like about LaValle's work, at least the two pieces that I've read, is how he manages to take certain pieces of literature and then turn it around and write it from his own perspective, at least in the sense that he is displaying what it's like to be black, or more specifically a black man. Here we mainly focus on Dr. Baker, who is a black woman, and her son who got killed by the police. And what's so clever about it is that it's a good story in and of itself, but it also gives a perspective on the black experience, or at least certain black experiences. The only thing that I was a bit confused about was Frankenstein's monster's motivation. I didn't understand what his purpose was, or at least, well, yeah, he tries and kills people, but I mean, like, why is he doing that? And why were his targets so specific? So I would have liked to have seen more elaboration on that part. But for the rest, it was a really good comic. I think that does it for this morning. I have to commute to the center this afternoon, so I think I'm going to listen to an audiobook just because taking the bus and then reading kind of makes me sick. So I'm just going to check and see what kind of interesting audiobooks they have in my audiobook library. So I found A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James, and it takes about 21 hours to finish. So I think this will be the only one that I'll be listening to this month. But yeah, I am going to get ready for the rest of the day. Hi, I'm back and ready to read some more. I listened a bit to A Brief History of Seven Killings for about 40 minutes, but I felt that the book was too complicated for me to just listen to. It's something I'd rather consume just by reading the book. So I'm going to set that aside, and I've chosen to now listen to The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I have the physical book, but some of my friends listened to the audiobook, which is narrated by Acevedo herself, and they just absolutely loved it. So I think it would be a great book to listen and read at the same time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue, or actually start, with my most anticipated book for 2020, The Death of Vivek Oji by Okweke Emezi. I have spoken too many times about how much I love this author. I read the book Pet. It was amazing. It was even so good that I was actually afraid to read Freshwater, because I felt like, okay, if I'm going to read that, I'm going to have to wait ages until their next book comes out. But then I found out that Riverhead Books is publishing it, and since I make videos for them, I tend to get their books early. So I got this one and I'm so excited, which is why I'm acting like a fool at the moment. But yeah, I'll read the synopsis for you. One afternoon in a town in southern Nigeria, a mother opens her front door to discover her son's body, wrapped in colorful fabric at her feet. What follows is the tumultuous, heart-wrenching story of one family's struggle to understand a child whose spirit is both gentle and mysterious. Raised by a distant father and a compassionate but overprotective mother, Vivek suffers disorientating blackouts, moments of disconnection between self and surroundings. As adolescence leads to adulthood, Vivek finds solace in friendships with the warm, boisterous daughters of the Niger wives, foreign-born women married to Nigerian men. But Vivek's closest bond is with Osita, the worldly, high-spirited cousin whose teasing confidence masks a guarded private life. As their relationship deepens and Osita struggles to understand Vivek's escalating crisis, the mystery gives way to a heart-stopping act of violence in a moment of exhilarating freedom. Propulsively readable, teeming with unforgettable characters, The Death of Vivek Oji is a novel of family and friendship that challenges expectations, a dramatic story of loss and transcendence that will move every reader. I am so ready for this. Let's go. I'm 50 pages in right now. There are about 254 and I am really enjoying it. So the thing that's really interesting to me when it comes to this book is that we already know what has happened. I mean, the title says it as much. Vivek Oji has died. And so you take away kind of like that question of, okay, what's going to happen to Vivek? We already know. And so the focus shifts to how things happened, how things unraveled. And for me, I just feel more immersed in the story because you're just looking through the text for clues as to what exactly happened, how the relationships between Vivek and his cousin and his mother and just the people around him evolved in such a way that ended up with the market getting burnt down and him dead at the doorstep of his mother. Also, the market like being set alight is like the first sentence, so it's not like I'm spoiling anything. So yeah, I'm going to continue. I think I'm going to try and read to about 125 pages. I am really happy how things are going so far. So this is great. It's another day. I had to cut my reading short because I still needed to do some stuff in the evening and I stayed up really late. So I woke up today around 11 or 12 o'clock, so I didn't read in the morning either. But now I am ready to get back to this one. I think I'm at page... Yeah, I'm at page 73 right now, so my goal is going to be the same as yesterday evening, which is get halfway, and that is page 129. One of the things in this novel that I'm really taking note of is what happens to a person when they're living in a place where they know that they can't be accepted for their true selves. Really, what does it do to a person and their soul when they can't or are not willing to conform to what society deems acceptable? And I think it's actually quite funny how last month I read a book that dealt with like the same themes, but then in Japan, which is the book Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. Some specific elements in this book also appeared in Earthlings, and it's sort of peculiar, the coincidence, because I'd never seen those elements in all the other books that I've ever read, so it's funny for me to almost read them back to back. But yeah, what I really love about Emezi are the topics that they write about and the perspectives that they write from. They travel to territories that have either been neglected or shunned for a very long time, and so in that sense they create places for people who previously didn't have a space where they could express or discover themselves. Having said that, I am going to take a break and I will be coming back later in the evening. I am back and the situation is dire because I have run out of snacks. I ate them too fast, so now the only thing I have is this bottle of tea that is lukewarm. Anyway, we still do have a really good book, so I'm just going to continue and see how far I get. I don't think I'll be able to finish this, but you never know. Let me just turn on the light. Oh, that is bright. A little less than 50 pages to go, and things have developed a lot. I think I know what sort of is going on. I picked up some clues earlier on, and I'm kind of like putting the pieces together. One remark I have is that this book isn't only about Vivek and his death. It is about a group of young people in Nigeria coming of age. They're discovering their identity and sexuality in a place where not every single thing or every single expression of yourself is accepted. And I think it's great because it goes back to what I said previously with regards to Okweke creating spaces, because sometimes people just need to see that possibility. They need to see that it is possible to express themselves in ways that they couldn't have even imagined. So that's why I think it's great that Emezi writes about these characters, and they do it in such a good way. It like so brilliantly. I mean, I've said this so many times in so many videos. It almost feels like redundant to even say it, because everything that I've read or seen that was created by them is just always thought-provoking, always intriguing, and it's done with so much care. Ugh, okay, I should stop gushing about them and just finish the book. I'm done. It's day 7 and honestly I need a win. So far the Blacklight Challenge is going really well, especially on Instagram. It's been a bit hard trying to keep up with what everyone's reading and what they're all posting about. But yeah, I can't complain really. The only thing is that my reading suffers. And so this vlog as well, which is why it's day 7 now and I haven't really read much since the night of day 2. I did read a couple of pages of Sharks in the Time of Saviors, but yeah, I've just been so tired and busy with like creating the content and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, I need a win and I want to end this vlog on a good note. So I decided to go back to my TBR for a hot minute and read this one, James Baldwin, Dark Days, because it's 50 pages. So I should be able to finish this rather quickly. I'll just read the back. Drawing on Baldwin's own experiences of prejudice in an America violently divided by race, these searing essays blend the intensely personal with the political to envisage a better world. Oh, I completely forgot. I still have to talk about Vivek Oji, because I think in the clip previous to this, I was like really emotional. I don't even know if I'm going to put it in this vlog, but yes, the death of Vivek Oji has become my favorite book. And that says a lot because Middle Game was amazing. I loved Middle Game so much, but this was so great. And it's been like, what, 4 days since I've read it, and it's still on my mind. Not per se like the entire story, but like, how would you say that? The essence, I sound really spiritual here, but yeah, it was, I'm very, very glad to have read it, and I still haven't managed to like get all my thoughts together and really properly talk about it. But yeah, there is just so much amazing stuff in that novel. There's also even like this one point, the story kind of veers off from, I guess, the main storyline. We get to kind of have a look into some random character's life who's like completely not related to any of them, and it's done so brilliantly. I just love it so much. Okay, yeah, read it when it comes out. If you're able to get an ARC, I would say get it because it's really, really good. I haven't read Fresh Water, but I had planned actually to read that coming week, but I don't know because I haven't even finished my first TBR. I am off on Sunday, which is next tomorrow, so hopefully I will be able to get in most of the books that I had on my TBR, so then I can like create a new one and then show it to everyone, etc, etc. But yeah, now it's time to get into this one. I finished the first essay in Dark Days. There are actually 3 in here. The first one is called Dark Days, and then The second is The Price of the Ticket, and the last one, The White Man's Guilt. In Dark Days, Baldwin talks about the educational system in America and how it's basically not designed for black people to thrive. There were two quotes that I wanted to share. The first one being, "It is an extraordinary achievement to be trapped in the dungeon of color and to dare to shake down its walls and to step out of it, leaving the jailhouse keeper in the rubble. But for the black man with the attaché case, or for the black boy on the needle, it has always been the intention of the Republic to promulgate and guarantee his dependence on this Republic. For although one cannot really be educated to believe a lie, one can be forced to surrender to it, and there is, after all, no reason not to be dependent on one's country, or at least to maintain a viable and fruitful relationship with it. But this is not possible if you see your country and your country does not see you. It is not possible if the entire effort of your countrymen is an attempt to destroy your sense of reality." Baldwin concludes this essay with, "The reality, the depth, and the persistence of the delusion of white supremacy in this country causes any real concept of education to be as remote and as much to be feared as change or freedom itself. What black men here have always known is now beginning to be clear all over the world. Whatever it is that white Americans want, it is not freedom, neither for themselves nor for others. It's you who will have the blues," Langston Hughes said, "not me. Just wait and see." So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. This is actually the first piece of Baldwin's work that I have ever read, and I think I have If Beale Street Could Talk as well, and I'd love to read that this month if I have the time. But yeah, when I was reading this essay, I checked my phone and I saw that someone called me an ugly ape because I made that video about why Barnes & Noble's diverse edition series was problematic, because what they basically did was blackface on a book cover and it just didn't make any sense. But yeah, I don't know, it's starting to become more obvious that I'm getting these type of comments. I remember some time ago finding out that someone told me that I was of the wrong color to wear the Alice in Wonderland costume. And then some other people said way more offensive stuff that is not worth repeating at the moment. But yeah, I don't know, for now I'm actually quite good. It doesn't affect me, which I'm really thankful for. But I don't know how that's going to be in the future, because the more you post, the more people that are going to be watching you, and so you get more of that type of stuff. But yeah, in other news, I completely forgot to mention this, but I got featured on the Fortune magazine website, which was absolutely fantastic. I got to talk about the Blacklit Challenge and how I started BookTube, and yeah, just kind of how things are going and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. So yeah, I'll put a picture here and a link in the description if you'd like to read the article. But yeah, I think it's very nice to be recognized in such a way, and hopefully it brings more people to the challenge and introduces more people to black literature. Also, going back to the whole Barnes & Noble thing, I know I made an entire video about that, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link in the description box. But one person pointed out something very important, is that people rarely read black literature from before the 20th century. And I was like, damn, you're right. I can't even think of one single book, basically. So I started searching, and it was super hard at the start, but I just think I used the wrong Google terms. But so I managed to find a couple of good ones, and I actually found out that I already have one The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, if that's like how the French pronunciation is. But yeah, his dad was black, and I didn't know that. But yeah, I have now had to kind of like break my book buying ban. The book buying ban for this year was part of like my entire no buy year in order to, I guess, improve my relationship with money and save some more. So it's basically that I said I don't want to spend money on things that aren't necessary. But in this case, for me at least now, it feels necessary. Like, I'm not saying like, okay, it's I need to buy these books, otherwise I'm going to die. But it's something very important to me. I am very passionate about sharing diverse literature, and so how can I be participating in the classics community reading challenge and only be reading two diverse classics? I mean, I read No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, and I had planned to read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and for the rest everyone was either American, British or Dutch. And that just didn't make sense to me. And I remember someone commenting on my other video, the same Barnes and Noble's one, saying that they were quite disappointed looking at the classics community and seeing how many like of the same classics books were read, because like the whole initiative of it, right, was for us not to focus on like front list, well, not to focus on front, but I mean like gain some appreciation for literature, for older literature, because like looking on booktube, mostly people talk about new releases or 2018, 2019. So that was what the classics community stood for. But now looking at it, it's all like the same people who are being read. I mean, Arthur Conan Doyle, William Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Virginia Woolf. And like, where are all the South Americans? Where are all the Asians? Where are all the Africans? And so I felt rather called out, and rightfully so. And thus, that's why I decided to break the ban and buy a couple of classics from South America, Africa, and Asia to discuss and read for the classics community reading challenge. So I might even just make another TBR video for that. So yeah, we'll see. Either way, I am going to continue. Okay, so I started filming because I wanted to say goodnight and that I hadn't read the two other essays, not because I was feeling bad about what that person said, but just because I've been occupied with like the influx of love that people have shown me, because I made a post about it on Instagram basically saying that it's important to process these type of things, at least making sure that they don't affect you mentally, but it's also very important that it doesn't hinder you. Because I mean, bullying does change you as a person. I mean, for myself, like growing up, almost always being like the black girl, I was bullied relentlessly from like primary school up till secondary school. And so it's hard like trusting people, I guess, in the sense that you're always waiting for the shoe to drop, that they'll find something out about you that they think is like, I don't know, horrible or something, or doesn't fit with the view that they have of a black person, and that they then, I don't know, start bullying you, start saying mean things, just finding ways to hurt you. So yeah, I always feel a bit weary when it comes to making friends, I guess, because like I've had that entire experience of like people going 180 and like being best friends at first and like completely ripping into you, and that's like the worst. Like it's not even like, it's bad already when someone you don't know does it, but when it's someone you trusted does it, ugh, gosh. And yeah, that has happened before to me on Instagram. So I don't know, then I'm also kind of like afraid that sometimes I might not be very reactive or very engaging with a lot of people. And yeah, I sometimes worry that that weariness might be an obstacle when it comes to making friends, because definitely it takes time for me to like, I guess, like become friends. And so yeah, I'm scared that people might think, oh okay, she's like super cold or something like that. But yeah, I guess it's just like, it's just a thing of setting boundaries and just being extra careful that you don't get hurt. Yes, okay. Fun subjects. So yeah, I did want to say that I'm not going to continue reading the 2 essays, but come on, Seiji. You're at page 19 and it goes all the way to page 40 what? 50. Okay, yeah, 50. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go to bed. Okay, good night. I failed already because it's like 1 a.m. So yeah, okay. In the morning. I'll do it in the morning if I wake up in the morning. Because today I woke up at 11 or 12. I don't know. Okay, I'm tired. Bye. I just finished the essay The White Man's Guilt, and it was so good. I felt it was better than Dark Days. This essay basically talks about the difficulty that some white people have when it comes to talking about race. How on one hand they are very proud of their history, but at the same time they don't like to think about or acknowledge all of the bad things that happened. White man, hear me. History, as nearly no one seems to know, is not merely something to be read, and it does not refer merely or even principally to the past. On the contrary, the great force of history comes from the fact that we carry it within us, are unconsciously controlled by it in many ways, and history is literally present in all that we do. It could scarcely be otherwise, since it is to history that we owe our frames of reference, our identities, our aspirations, and it is with great pain and terror that one begins to realize this. In great pain and terror because thereafter one enters into battle with that historical creation, oneself, and attempts to recreate oneself according to a principle more humane and more liberating. One begins the attempt to achieve a level of personal maturity and freedom which robs history of its tyrannical power and also changes history. Baldwin so deftly describes what history is and what it means for every single individual. He describes what happens to people when they use history for their own benefit, when they use it to flatter themselves. He says that they are impaled on their history in the same way a butterfly is on a pin, and as a result become incapable of seeing or changing themselves or the world. This is the place in which, it seems to me, most white Americans find themselves. Impaled. They are dimly or vividly aware that the history they have fed themselves is mainly a lie, but they do not know how to release themselves from it, and they suffer enormously from the resulting personal incoherence. This incoherence is heard nowhere more plainly than in those stammering, terrified dialogues which white Americans sometimes entertain with that black conscience, the black man in America. The nature of this stammering can be reduced to a plea. Do not blame me. I was not there. I did not do it. My history has nothing to do with Europe or the slave trade. Anyway, it was your chiefs who sold you to me. I was not present on the Middle Passage. I am not responsible for the textile mills of Manchester or the cotton fields of Mississippi. Besides, consider how the English, too, suffered in those mills and in those awful cities. I also despise the governors of southern states and the sheriffs of southern counties, and I also want your child to have a decent education and rise as high as his capabilities will permit. I have nothing against you. Nothing. What have you got against me? What do you want? But on the same day, in another gathering, and in the most private chamber of his heart, always the white American remains proud of that history for which he does not wish to pay, and from which, materially, he has profited so much. Baldwin just puts it so well. And another thing that he talks about is how people try to cope with that idea of being proud of their history, but like seeing how that history has affected black people in their community. They, for instance, try to dehumanize them, or looking more specifically at the police, how they would attack black people, and how this is something, or how these ideas are not things that people are born with, rather these are things that people learn from others. People are able to abuse and violate people by taking away their humanity, by not considering them as human beings. And as a response to that, Baldwin says, "White man, hear me. A man is a man, a woman is a woman, a child is a child. To deny these facts is to open the doors on a chaos deeper and deadlier, and within the space of a man's lifetime, more timeless, more eternal than the medieval vision of hell." I still have one essay to read, but I am finding this to be such a great introduction to Baldwin. I wasn't aware of how truly good Baldwin's work was, or at least in the sense that I, as a person who doesn't really read a lot of non-fiction, would enjoy his essays as much as I am, and not only for the content but just the quality in writing. I really vibe well with his style. At the moment I couldn't exactly tell you as to why specifically, because of course I've just read only 2 essays. However, I do find myself underlining a lot of the text, and not only for the contents, but also because I particularly liked the way he worded certain things. So yeah, 20 more pages to go, and then I have finished my 3rd read of the month. Oh my gosh, in the price of the ticket, Baldwin is talking about how he used to smoke weed with like his mentor. It sounds really weird, but you have to read the essay to understand. But anyways, he said, "I needed love so badly that I could as easily have been hit with a needle as persuaded to share a joint of marijuana. And in fact, Beaufort, which was his mentor, and the others let me smoke with them from time to time. But there were people they warned me not to smoke with. The only real danger with marijuana is that it can lead to rougher stuff. But this has to do with the person, not the weed. In my own case, it could hardly have become a problem, since I simply could not write if I were high. Or rather, I could, sometimes all night long, the greatest pages the world had ever seen. Pages I tore up the moment I was able to read them." Oh, great. I'm done, and I am very happy that I read this, though I do have to say that I think that I'll go back to this again and reread a couple of passages. I would like to do a review on this, actually just a written review. Yeah, just because there's a lot to unpack here, and yeah, I've just made a lot of notes, if you can see here. and I just want to go through it again and just soak up everything. I would say that the last essay that I read, The Price of the Ticket, was the hardest for me to understand. In the first part, he kind of like talks about his life, his early start, and then he moves towards talking about institutionalized racism. For instance, let me try and find this passage. He says, "A mob cannot afford to doubt that the Jews killed Christ, or that niggers want to rape their sisters, or that anyone who fails to make it in the land of the free and the home of the brave deserves to be wretched. But these ideas do not come from the mob, they come from the state, which creates and manipulates the mob. The idea of black persons as property, for example, does not come from the mob. It is not a spontaneous idea. It does not come from the people who knew better, who thought nothing of intermarriage until they were penalized for it. This idea comes from the architects of the American state." To be honest, there were a few parts specifically in this essay that I didn't quite grasp, but like I said earlier, I'll just go back in a couple of days, go through my notes and try again. I guess that's kind of like what I do with non-fiction that's a bit like on the harder spectrum. I don't know, like racism or like politics and things like that. But yeah, book 3 done. We did it. Yeah, I'm really tired. I'm going to take a shower and then I'm going to pick up my violin, after which I will try and have a nap, and then hopefully in the evening or so I will start a new book. But yeah, I am going to be ending this vlog now. And so I will say thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next video.